Welcome back to another Battlefront update. Now with this video we're going to be doing things a little bit differently, as instead of doing the usual news roundup, I figured it would be a good time to talk about the upcoming EA Play event. Why I think the real reason Battlefront 2 won't be featured there, along with some of the new and latest pieces of evidence that have been uncovered for the eventual announcement of Ahsoka Tano and Asajj Ventress coming to Battlefront 2. And before we get into any of that, but a quick reminder, if you do like these type of videos, do remember to give them a like to show your support for not only the update series, but also the content within it. With that out of the way, let's get into it. First off, as I stated before, we're gonna need to address the EA Play situation and go over a theory of mine in explaining on why Battlefront 2 won't be showcased at the event, as that decision is still confusing a lot of members of the community and DICE still hasn't given an official response on why Battlefront will be excluded from that. But I think I might have the answer. Now, as mentioned in my last video, DICE have something big planned for June, as we now know, which normally you'd think they would love nothing more than to announce it live to everyone at EA Play. Well, what if I were to tell you that it's potentially because of that announcement, which is why Battlefront will be ignored at EA Play? Okay, so let's slow down first and rewind a bit. So let's think back to EA Play 2018, where Anakin, Obi-Wan, Grievous, and Dooku were announced, with Grievous of course being the showcased hero at the event. Okay, so let's think about that and what made that announcement so great to have it featured at EA Play that year. And here's the thing. All those characters that are mentioned are from the movies and thus very well known by everyone who's watched them. You don't have to be a Star Wars expert to know who Obi-Wan or Grievous are, which is why that announcement at EA Play made so much sense as it worked well for the masses. Now as for EA Play 2019, that's a different story. I'm personally under the firm belief that Ahsoka Tano and Asajj Ventress will be revealed to come out, whether through the community transmission in June or in the June roadmap. But then again, why wouldn't EA want these characters to be announced at EA Play like they did with Anakin, Grievous, Obi-Wan, and so on? And that's just it right there. What makes these two characters different from the ones that I mentioned before? Well, Ahsoka and Ventress are TV characters only, characters from a cartoon. And they just don't have the same type of recognition, especially if the casual audience. I guess you could say they're just not mainstream enough. I mean, let's take Maul's cameo from Solo: A Star Wars Story as an example. Do you remember how many people were confused by that cameo when the movie was first released? It was pretty much the hot topic of that movie everywhere where you looked, as the casual audience all thought Maul had died in The Phantom Menace, and now he's suddenly alive in Solo. It was weird, for them especially. Now to us Star Wars fans, we obviously knew that wasn't the case, well, at least those of us who watched the Clone Wars. And even then, there are a lot of fans who haven't even watched it too. But all that shock and confusion about Maul being alive by the general movie audience should be a clear indicator of how many people care or even take note of the Clone Wars TV series. And guess what, I'll be honest here too, I've been a Star Wars fan since I could count, and I only got into the Clone Wars TV series like 5 or 4 years ago. Before then, my ignorant self thought it was a simple dumb cartoon show for kids that I wouldn't care about, and yeah, looking back at that, I was so majorly wrong. To the point where I meet any Star Wars fan that hasn't seen it, then I always urge them to check it out, as they're missing out on not only great Star Wars content, but a good show in general. But yeah, the key difference here is that Maul at least was already a well-known character by the masses, while Ahsoka and Ventress are not. They never appeared in the movies and were only introduced in the TV series. So in EA's eyes, to announce and show off these two that are coming to Battlefront 2 at EA Play would be a complete and utter waste. Remember, EA Play will be watched all over the world, with many people who only know of the Star Wars brand name tuning in. To them, when they hear that Ahsoka and Ventress are coming to Battlefront 2 would mean absolutely nothing. It means as much as me telling you that Zoltak and Clantar are coming to Warfront, and yeah, I just made that up, but you get the idea. You don't know what or who that is, so why would you care or be invested in it? Now with names like Obi-Wan and Grievous, then yeah, people know who they are, so announcing them at EA Play allowed DICE to pull more of the casual audience to the game. Can't really do that with Ahsoka and Ventress. Now, this is of course my educated guess on the matter, but according to one of the Battlefront community leads, Total FPS, this may not come as a shock to some of you, but Battlefront 2 was originally supposed to be at EA Play this year, but didn't make it due to scheduling issues. And based on his message, it's obvious he knows a lot more than he's letting on. Which makes sense, as he can't exactly say, oh, we were going to show off Ahsoka Ventress, but can't because EA didn't let us. Even what he's telling us here, he doesn't seem 100% sure that he's allowed to say it. But you know, better he put the blame on scheduling issues than on his employer EA. And just to clarify again, this is what I think EA think about Ahsoka Ventress. I personally would have no problem featuring them at EA Play, but EA on the other hand, they're not too confident in them. And whether or not I agree with them, that doesn't matter here, as I do kind of understand their point of view here. Because let's think for a second, how many of the suits at EA do you think actually saw or know about the Clone Wars and know who Ahsoka or Ventress is? Now at the same time, I know there are also people out there who will still choose to ignore all the evidence in front of them and choose to believe that Ahsoka and Ventress won't be coming to Battlefront. I remember these exact same type of people last year, especially when I made my other videos leading up to EA Play 2018 where I said Obi-Wan and Grievous would be revealed at EA Play. And all of that was based on the in-game data and leaks about them being in development, especially Grievous, who was notably being worked on since the summer of 2017. And then, well, we all know what happened at EA Play. So I openly predicted that Grievous and Obi-Wan would be announced at EA Play 2018, and they were.
So I'm excited to confirm that Battlefront 2 this year will be going deep into the Clone Wars. Let me introduce the most powerful droid, the leader of the most powerful droid army in the galaxy, General Grievous. And yes, he will be going up against my own personal favorite, Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi. Finally making his debut in Battlefront after all these years. But we're not done, that's not it. They will not come alone. Joining them is the Dark Lord and leader of the Separatist Alliance, Count Dooku, as well as someone to bring balance to the Force, Obi-Wan's unruly Padawan, Anakin Skywalker.
Thinking about that now, the writing was all over the wall about everything that we knew and the leaks about them. And now, guess what? It's the same story of Ahsoka and Ventress. Is there a guarantee that they'll be announced this weekend? No. But I do have the same exact confidence about their eventual announcement that I had of Obi-Wan and Grievous last year. It's like the old saying goes, the proof is in the pudding. Which leads to my next point about the new and latest evidence about Ahsoka and Ventress coming to the game. Now, I'm not going to be going over all the past developer teases, game data mines, and the leaks that are in favor of Ahsoka and Ventress, because that would only prolong this video. But if you do want to see that stuff, then you can check out the videos I did covering them. However, instead we're going to be looking at the new evidence showing that Ahsoka and Ventress should be announced very soon. The first is a straight data mine which shows us new data of Ahsoka being visible in the game files. This was actually found by Official Mango, who's our local Discord server Battlefront data miner, so credit goes to him for finding this and letting me know. Now these are actually character voice folders in the game for not only Ahsoka but Padme as well. Last time we previously heard other characters referencing both Ahsoka and Padme, which was cool to hear. But now we see DICE have added a voice folder of their very own into the game data, which definitely wasn't there before. These voice folders are sections which each and every hero in the game has, and that's where DICE contains the voice lines for these heroes. And before, we didn't see these two new voice folders in the game data until recently through a monthly update. Now unfortunately, these voice folders are empty, but it's already a sign that DICE must have recorded the voice lines for both Ahsoka and Padme and just removed them from the game, as there's no other reason why DICE would out of the blue recently create a voice folder for each of these heroes. Now granted, it's pretty suspicious on why they added a voice folder for Padme and not Ventress. I could see Padme being added to the game later down the road, but right now, probably not. There's simply more of a demand for Ahsoka and Ventress, and just in general, more leaks about them and nothing about Padme really. Next, I want to point your attention toward one particular DICE developer, Christian Johannesson. He's going to be attending EA Play and has tweeted out that he's incredibly hyped to show off this weekend on the stuff that he's been working on. Now, he normally doesn't really tweet out about community transmissions coming out like this, so this is already something unusual. Next, when you look at his Twitter profile, then let's just say a lot of it is about Ahsoka Tano, including his profile header. Needless to say, he's a big Ahsoka fan, and with everything leading up to Ahsoka being announced, then it would make plenty of sense on why Johannesson, out of nowhere, has chosen to hype up this particular transmission. Now, I know this is small, but I thought it was pretty interesting and wanted to at least give it a mention. Especially since we've seen other devs do the same before with the likes of Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Grievous. So seeing one of the biggest Ahsoka fans at DICE suddenly start hyping up the June update, well then, that's a bit suspicious to say the least, in a good way of course. And last but not least, let's not forget about Dennis Brandval, the design director of Battlefront 2, who's also not a stranger in this area. He was the first one to tease Ahsoka Ventress coming to the game, and still continues to do it. This time, he tweeted back to one individual who showed their displeasure in cartoon characters being added to the game, and well, Dennis's response to this with the Ventress gif, it seems to speak for itself. Now, of course it is disappointing that some people hate the idea of Ahsoka and Ventress showing up in Battlefront 2 because they can't imagine how their realistic versions will look like. But I think once they do end up seeing them in the Frostbite engine, then I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of them end up changing their minds right there and then. And if we go back a little bit more to April, when Dennis attended Star Wars Celebration and was in attendance for the Clone Wars Season 7 trailer, he tweeted out saying that DICE have some more work to do now, of course referencing to Ahsoka and Ventress, and with Total FPS of EA replying back with an Ahsoka gif. I mean, if you really look at it, then they're not trying to hide anything at all. Basically doing the bare minimum of not getting in trouble for revealing something a little bit too early. But yeah, those are the latest pieces of evidence that I could find to help support Ahsoka and Ventress coming to Battlefront 2. And don't forget, there's of course even more dev teases, data mining, and leaks that I didn't go over here for the sake of brevity. But hopefully now, maybe even the non-believers may give the idea a chance than completely writing it off just because these are so-called only cartoon characters. Besides, with Clone Wars Season 7 fast approaching, then these two heroes will make the perfect DLC content representing not only the new season, but the entire show itself. And hey, they sound like they're gonna be a lot of fun in the game too. Also, a quick heads up if you're on the PS4 and still looking into getting Battlefront 2, but it's currently on sale for $7.19, which is a pretty good price for what you're getting now. And yeah, this is the digital version from the PSN shop, although you can probably find cheap physical copies of the game still out there with a bit of searching. Now, I'm not sure if this PlayStation Special is maybe due to EA Play or not, but I thought I'd give a quick mention of it just in case anyone is still looking to land a good deal on Battlefront 2. Keep in mind though that you do need PlayStation Plus to take advantage of this offer. But if you haven't yet taken the plunge into Battlefront 2 just yet, then I highly recommend you do, as right now is definitely the best time to get into the game. But that'll do it for this Battlefront update. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please like it, share it, and subscribe to the channel to not only support it, but keep up with Star Wars news, gaming, and canon lore released every week. And consider following me on Twitter and Facebook to never miss out on the latest Star Wars related content. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.